Kia ora, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Susuiki. Coming up, 1 in 5 Pacific children living in hardship in Aotearoa.
The New Zealand that our grandkids are going to grow up in is going to be even worse. It's going to be even more unsafe.
Meanwhile, Pacific youth are still struggling with mental health, and it's election year in Fiji. We check out all the big players. Nearly a fifth of Pacific children in Aotearoa live in poverty as of last year. New figures from Statistics New Zealand say these levels have remained consistent since 2019. However, nearly a third of Pacific children remain in material hardship, an increase over the last 6 years. Kaya Selby has more.
There's people telling us things are getting better, but things have gotten worse. It hasn't stayed the same, it's gotten worse.
That's community leader and BBM director Dave Letele. He says the statistics are not surprising, but it doesn't make them any less difficult.
It's not telling us anything we don't know. And the thing is that if you're going to continually not support people at the bottom, then things are never going to change. Things are never going to get better.
More than 32,000 Pasifika children live in poverty. They remain the most impoverished demographic group in Aotearoa. Meanwhile, overall child poverty in New Zealand is sitting at around 12.6%. That's 6% lower than the Pasifika rate. Pasifika have the lowest median disposable income level out of other ethnic groups, estimated at around $46,000 per year. Around 258,000 Pasifika households earn less than $47,900 per year. Salvation Army senior policy analyst Ana Ika says less money means more trade-offs.
Last month, the unemployment figures came out. For Pacific, it's more than double in comparison to the rest of the country, which creates a domino effect into other areas, particularly when we're looking at material hardship in regards to access to nutritious foods, doctors and dentists, paying for utility bills.
Child Poverty Reduction Minister Louise Upston says it's a promising sign that key measures haven't technically worsened. She says unemployment is one of the last things to recover from a recession. But Children's Commissioner Dr Claire Ahmad says the issue is not being prioritised by the government.
When it comes down to it, children cannot wait for our economy to improve. Children get one chance at childhood, and we've got to act and get this right now.
For Dave Letele, it's business as usual.
They just don't care, and the thing that people don't understand is unless we help the country that the New Zealand that our grandkids are going to grow up in, it's going to be even worse. It's going to be even more unsafe.
Too many Pacific youth are still falling through the gaps in mental health support in Aotearoa. A recent New Zealand health survey has found 23% of people aged 15 to 25 had experienced high or very high psychological distress in the 4 weeks leading up to the survey, up from 8% 10 years ago. And according to support organisations on the front line, Pacific youth are particularly held back from getting support due to cultural and systemic barriers. Soana Aholele has more.
Last month, the mental health charity Gumboot Friday provided over 1,300 people aged between 5 and 25 free counselling support sessions. The foundation says Pasifika youth are presenting with core issues, particularly anxiety, but Mr King says stigma remains a hurdle to them seeking help.
Pacific youth are beginning to engage more with support services, but the data shows we still have a long way to go to ensure access is equitable and culturally safe.
An organisation dedicated to Pacific mental health services in Aotearoa says Pasifika youth suffering from mental health issues have doubled in the last 10 years. Levar's chief executive, Dr Elizabeth Mati, says that Pasifika people aged 15 to 24 have the highest rate of psychological distress. A registered clinical psychologist, Dr Mati says there are many factors causing Pasifika youth mental health problems.
The economic times, the unemployment rates of Pacific, we have the highest unemployment rates, the housing crisis, all those kind of challenges are additional stresses that impact the well-being of our Pacific youth.
Levar has noted in its reporting on the issue that the number of Pasifika accessing mental health support services is low. Mike King says when engaged, Pasifika youth in particular would rather talk to a counsellor about their issues rather than confiding in their parents or family.
The number one reason Māori and Pasifika give me for not talking to their parents is I don't want to hurt them. My mum and dad have sacrificed so much and have worked so hard for me. I can't now go to them and say your reward for your hard work is I don't want to be here.
Dr. Mati says a myriad of factors are involved.
I think, to Mike's point around, that not wanting to let the family down, I think in particular for Pacific being a collective culture, that's always going to be something that's more important to us and there's going to be more shame and ma associated with that. So I think that factor has a particular impact on our Pacific youth.
Levar's recent survey in this area revealed that more resources are needed to help Pasifika youth suffering from mental health issues.
Because we know that specialist services, the demand or the access to those services has decreased over time, but that's not because the attempts to access it have decreased. It's more that they're letting in less young people because the supply, if you like, the pressure on the specialist services can't meet the demand for those services.
Dr. Mati says the Pacific Island community is resilient and thriving, but we're all human, so it's important to look after yourself and put yourself first.
I would just really encourage those who are needing support to seek help, whether that is your trusted friends, family members, church members, or professionals.
A Fijian academic believes that the government's coalition partners could pose the biggest threat for the Prime Minister's People's Alliance Party in the next general election. Jope Tarai, a scholar at the Australian National University, says Sitiveni Rambuka should be wary of the two parties that have backed him. Margot Staunton has more.
The People's Alliance Party, or PAP, rules alongside the Social Democratic Liberal Party and the National Federation Party. Jope Tarai believes Sitiveni Rambuka's main competition in the upcoming election will come from his coalition partners.
They've been in the centre of the machinery of government. They've gotten full airtime and they've gotten access. And so in that regard, the main opposition rival would probably come from those two parties, given the advantage of incumbency.
He claims that PAP has mistreated its partners in the past, which builds resentment.
If PEP is not careful, these parties that have been humiliated, NFP, SUDELPA, Unity Fiji as well, which did not qualify, these sort of situations could give them a reason to unify against PEP. And that could be a different dynamic altogether.
He says SUDELPA and NFP had key portfolios and strong visibility, despite NFP leader Biman Prasad facing corruption charges.
While the Prime Minister is involved in these high-stakes legal constitutional challenges, these other parties are engaging in work where they are visible to up-and-coming voters and various other everyday people.
Mr Tarai says Mr Rambuka's nephew, Philemoni Vasarongo, a cabinet minister and lawyer, is definitely a candidate for the top job. He has already stood in for the Prime Minister when he's overseas.
He has represented the Prime Minister legally in 2018 in terms of his cases. He has a particular public persona that fits the conservative frames of the populace, and he's getting more and more of the roles that gains him a lot of public relations.
Meanwhile, political commentators are questioning whether High Chief Ratu Tavita Mara will step into politics in the future. Chiefs have stood for elections in the past because it gives them more status and power. However, the son of Fiji's first Prime Minister, Ratu Sukamasesi Mara, hails from Laos, a province in the Eastern Division with the lowest number of registered voters.
What is perceived in the legacy of his late father was under a different electoral system. So in that regard, it's going to take a lot of work.
Mr Tarai feels there is growing support for former Deputy Prime Minister Manoa Kamikamiva, who is also facing corruption-related charges. Fiji's Information, Environment and Climate Change Minister, Linda Timboya, was the fourth highest polling MP in the last general election. Ms Timboya was sacked from Cabinet and later reinstated following a video of her dancing naked that went viral in December 2024. Mr Tarai says given the scandal, he doubted whether PAP will promote her.
Given the internal party tensions, I'd be very surprised if she gets put forward, knowing fully well that there are underlying hushed issues as well within that particular coalition.
Fiji is expected to head to the polls any time between the 7th of August this year and the 7th of February in 2027. 8 political parties have registered to contest the general election so far.
Moana, Pasifika and the Fijian Drua are both back in action this weekend in round 3 of the Super Rugby Pacific competition. And the Flying Fijians are hosting their Nations Championship matches in July. In football, the weather challenges in Melbourne earlier this week were best forgotten as the OFC Pro League continued. And we're joined by our senior sports journalist Elisa Tora for our Sipoti Talanoa preview today. Pula Ili, Moana Pasifika have been in the news this week. How are they gearing up ahead of their match against the Western Force?
Io, talofalava, bulabinaka, Moana Pasifika have the Western Force at home in Pukekohe on, Friday night. And head coach Whalonga Tana Umanga says that is their focus. With all the news about their game against the Chiefs later on in the competition, now cancelled in Tonga because of financial restraints. They are focused on the Western Force because a win would definitely put them on track as they work towards the middle of the competition. Right? They have named a powerful lineup, basically the same starting lineup that defeated the Fijian Drua in Lautoka a fortnight ago, with just one change, with the injured William Havili being replaced by Glenn Vaihu, who will start at fullback for Moana Pasifika. Tana Umanga says, playing in Pukekohe is also special for them. There's a lot of Pacific Islanders out in South Auckland, and it would be a game that they are treating as, going home, playing at home, and they are looking forward to representing their fans against the Western Force. The Western Force, of course, coming off 2 losses in their 2 matches so far, and definitely also travelling into Auckland with the aim of upsetting Moana Pasifika at home.
And with the Fijian Drua, they are set to host the Hurricanes in Lautoka. Do they stand a chance of beating the Hurricanes at home in that clash, and what do they need to do?
I think it's going to be a tougher game than the Fijian Drua expects, and Fijian Drua fans should expect a very physical and tough clash with the Hurricanes, heading into Churchill Park again for the second time in 2 years, having won their opening game against Moana Pasifika last weekend. The Drua have been disappointing in some sense, that they haven't been able to impress with their games, both against Moana Pasifika in the first round and last weekend they fell apart after starting well, but then they couldn't continue with that. So against the Hurricanes, who are fired up, going into Lautoka, they will have to improve 101% right across the field. Their forwards will have to stick in the game early, get those ground balls, retain possession, and win the set pieces. And their backline must show a lot of variation. They have some good news because former 7th rep Chochina Sova will debut at wing. Captain Frank Lomani will have control again with Isaiah Washington Ravula in there, commanding the backline moves. But the Hurricanes have Cam Roygard starting at halfback, and they have a big lineup that is already preparing to face Sanrua in Lautoka on Saturday afternoon.
All right, and sticking with rugby, why are the Flying Fijians playing home matches away in the UK?
Yes, interesting announcement by the Fiji Rugby Union earlier this week, where the Flying Fijians will be playing their Three Nations Championship matches in July, which are home matches for them in Europe. They face Wales on July 4th in Cardiff. Then they meet England on the 11th, and then the last game against Scotland on the 18th of July at Murrayfield. The big problem for Fiji is that is something that is also consistent with the other Pacific rugby island nations, is that the facilities, the stadiums are not able to, have big crowds like we would expect or we would see in matches across New Zealand, Australia, and Europe, of course. And that is the biggest reason why the Fiji Rugby Union is moving the matches to Europe. Also, they are home matches. They're moving them there. As Chairman John Sanday said during the week, it's an income-generating exercise that they are doing, and hopefully they would be able to raise funds that would help them in their rugby development programs. And of course they are working on trying to build a 35,000 capacity seat stadium later on over the next 2 years is the aim. So meantime, Fiji fans will have to go without watching these home matches against tier 1 countries in person at home.
To football, there is some gloomy and positive news out of the OFC Pro League. What's happening out there?
Well, the third round kicked off at the weekend, but there were matches that were scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday. But unfortunately, in Melbourne, there were thunderstorms, heavy rain, lightning that threatened the matches. And in the end, on Tuesday, they had to cancel 2 games, South Island United and Auckland FC, South Melbourne and the Tahiti United games, with both these matches being rescheduled for later. We are hoping that we can get confirmation of that later on. But on Wednesday, Bula FC managed to beat PNG Hekari United 2-1 in their match, and Vanuatu United upset Solomon Kings, who have been impressive so far, winning that game 2-0 on Wednesday afternoon. Now, matches continue this weekend. We have 4 games that are rounding off round 3. This weekend, Auckland FC taking on Tahiti United, South Melbourne matching up with South Island United, Vanuatu United against PNG Hekari, and Solomon Kings and Bula FC completing round 3 in Melbourne before the teams move on to Honiara for round 4 in 2 weeks' time.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, Tō whā, sui fua.